Hi, my name is Tania Romero Somers, and I'm very happy to be able to share an hour with you. Since I was a little girl, I had a clear goal for my life. I just wanted to be happy. Obviously, I didn't think about it in those words, but I have always been a person who has wanted to enjoy life to the fullest. However, if you think about it, nobody really teaches us how to be happy. If we think about the education system from kindergarten to universities, the academic curriculum teaches us about mathematics, science, history, literature, but little or nothing is said about how to build happiness or well-being. However, I believe the ultimate goal of all human beings is to be happy, right? Throughout my life, I have been taking different courses in personal development. I'm a psychotherapist. I have been learning about yoga, mindfulness, semiology, until I discovered positive psychology and the science of happiness. As its name says, it's a discipline that is based on scientific research that shows how if we develop certain habits, we can build a happier life. Therefore, happiness is teachable, and if we really put those learnings into practice, we can enjoy the benefits of a happier life. I would like to reinforce the message that everything that I'm going to share today has scientific evidence, because if you hear about the happiness term, maybe it has lost a little bit of meaning and it has become a little bit shallow. So it's important that we understand that there's science behind this. So if you allow me, I would like to share with you during this session a little piece of this world that I'm so passionate about. My goal during this session is to share with you a glimpse of the science of happiness and how to put it into practice. The session has two objectives. The first one is to share with you basic concepts, scientific research that supports how we can become happier, and practical exercises. The second one is to invite you to have an open mind and an open heart to learn new things during this hour that we're going to spend together. Reflect, experiment. The wonder of this discipline is that you learn by experimenting. So I'm going to ask you also to have a pen and a notebook handy, because I'm going to ask you to do some exercises. Are you ready? Let's get started. What is the science of happiness? For much of its history, psychology has seemed obsessed with human feelings and pathologies. Actually, Freud thought that we were human beings as troubled creatures in need of repair. Later on, behaviorists, social psychologists, and other kind of therapies continued focusing on the negative side of our human side. It was until 1998 when psychologist Martin Seligman, he became the president of the American Association of Psychologists. And he urged psychology to turn toward understanding and building the human strengths to complement that emphasis that psychology had in the past on the healing damage. So that's the speech that launched the positive psychology movement. So the science of happiness is based on positive psychology. This field operates under the premise that we have to acknowledge both the light and the dark side of life. This means that a happy life has also painful moments that allow us to learn and live a growing experience. Today more than ever, we need tools that allow us to know how to manage stress, anxiety, and the roller coasters of emotions that we experience on a daily basis, especially after the pandemic. Positive psychology will not solve all your problems, and I want to be very honest with this, especially if you have been dealing with different things through years. What the science of happiness can help us is to feel better, to manage difficult emotions better, to make us more resilient, more optimistic. But if someone is experiencing severe depression or anxiety, then the science of happiness will not be the answer. In this case, I encourage you to look for help with a professional, a therapist, or a psychiatrist that can really help you with this. So now, it's important that we define what is happiness, and so we can actually understand it, pursue it, and try to achieve it. So I would like you to pause the video and write down in your notebook what is your own definition of happiness. Once you finish writing it, you can continue with the video. I will give you later on a definition based on the framework that I'm going to teach you. So take your time. The next question that I have for you is based on these images. Which one of these are critical for your happiness? The perfect relationship, your dream job, money, having kids, What are critical for you? Write down your answer in your notebook by pausing the video. If you're done, now let me give you the correct answer, which is none of them are critical for your happiness. According to the researcher Sonia Lyubomirsky, she's a doctor professor of the psychology in the University of California, and most of her research is on positive psychology. She says that while all of these can contribute to satisfaction, they are also part of the myths of happiness. There are myths that assure us that if we achieve lifelong happiness once we achieve these successes. And that's our concept that our society has been telling us. But what's really happening? Let's assume that we're able to achieve those goals. And this is a hypothesis because it's not real, right? Once we achieve them, the satisfaction is very brief, it's temporary, right? And now if we don't find them because they're utopic, we can basically spend our entire life trying to find, for example, the perfect relationship. So that's not real. So to believe that when we achieve these goals, we're somehow guaranteed happiness is a restricted view of happiness, because in the moment our lives take a negative turn, it will be very difficult to recognize our potential for growth. So what really determines happiness? Throughout life, human beings have always been wondering how to be happy. And many people actually have tried to define happiness, like from Greek philosophers to Buddhists to poets, all of them have given their own definition. The famous Greek philosopher Aristotle once said, "Happiness depends on ourselves." He stated that happiness is a long-term goal to be achieved over a lifetime, rather than something that would promise instant gratification. So in the past, happiness was very difficult to measure, and it can vary actually from person in a daily basis. However, modern scholarship expands Aristotle's work from focusing less on what is happiness and more how to actually increase happiness and maintain it. So according to Sonia Lyubomirsky, she estimates that only 10% of our happiness is attributable to external circumstances, such as socioeconomic status, marital status, ethnicity, religious beliefs. This seems counterintuitive. People tend to assume that circumstances play a much larger role in our happiness. But Lyubomirsky claims that there is enough evidence to support her conclusion, including a study showing that Americans who earn more than $10 million per year are only slightly happier than blue-collar workers who are not really wealthy. So how do we really become happier? In her research she conducted, she basically says that it all depends on how we interpret the life events in our life. If we interpret it in a positive way or in a negative way, if we find purpose to those things that happen in our life. If you look at the graph, happiness can be controlled primarily by our actions rather than our circumstances. And while we can't really do a lot based on our genetic disposition, we can do things in our daily lives to live a happier life. And that's part what we're gonna be discovering during this session. So don't worry about the genetic part. There are actually happiness experts who genetically say they're prone to be negative, and with a lot of effort, if they focus on that 40% that we can control, they can build a happy life. So now, why happiness is important? Most people believe that success will lead to happiness, but in reality, it's just the opposite. It's the other way around. It's happiness will lead to success. We need to change the approach that we're following, and I hope after this session you have it more clear. Happiness is not about getting to the top of the mountain. It's actually climbing towards the mountain, and this is something that I learned from my teacher Tal Ben-Shahar, who gave one of the most popular classes in Harvard on positive psychology. So what are the benefits of happiness? So all this information is based on several scientific studies from different universities and carried out by psychologists, doctors, and physicians, right? We can have higher creativity, a stronger immune system, better results, less violence. So there are many benefits. But for that, I'm going to reveal you the 3 secrets of happiness. And it is reality, reality, and reality. The only way to build a happy life is to accept the reality that we're living in this moment. Unfortunately, it is something that is very difficult for us because we live either missing the past or dreaming about the future. So we forget about the present moment. We have to face reality as it is, not as we would like it to be or not as it once was, just as it is. The psychologist Nathaniel Branden, who is considered the father of the self-esteem movement, he says that the respect for reality is a factor of mental health. And so it is, especially when we deny difficult moments in our lives and are not able to face them, that will lead us to much suffering. Buddhists, they say that we have two levels of suffering. The first one, which is not a natural experience like pain, anger, sadness, or frustration that we experience in our life, and that's unavoidable because it's part of our physical nature. However, the second level of suffering is optional, and it is when we reject what we're experiencing. So for example, if something is bothering me and I think, oh, I shouldn't be angry, I should be grateful for this, or I shouldn't feel anxious, I should stay positive. The reality is, if you feel angry and you feel anxious, you have to allow yourself to feel that feeling instead of rejecting it. We have a choice, and this is when suffering becomes optional. So if you notice, we are facing a paradox of happiness, how we can actually achieve it. If we try to look for happiness in a direct way, as and the example of above, like trying to find the perfect relationship, it's like looking at trying to find it in a direct way. What is going to happen, imagine that you're looking at the sunlight and you try to see it directly. The light is so bright that it's gonna hurt your eyes, right? However, we can see the same light, but in an indirect way, very much as a rainbow. It's the same light, right? This is how we actually solve the paradox. We have to look at elements that lead us to happiness, so we can have to look for happiness in an indirect way. And of course, they're gonna ask me, what are those elements? So within the world of positive psychology, there are several frameworks. The first one was designed by Martin Seligman. As I mentioned before, he's considered the father of positive psychology. And his model is called PERMA, which stands for the initials of positive emotions, engagements, positive relationships, meaning, accomplishments, achievements, and recently he added H at the end for health. So this model is the foundation for all the different frameworks created by different positive psychologists. The one that I'm gonna teach you is based on Tal Ben-Shahar's model that is called SPIRE. So these are the 5 elements of well-being that lead us to happiness. A spiritual well-being, that is finding that sense of meaning and purpose in life, being present in the here and now. The physical well-being, that is exercise, nutrition, rest, sleep. How do we take care of our physical body? Intellectual well-being, learning new things, indulging curiosity. Relational well-being, that is that interaction with ourselves and with others. And emotional well-being, how do we deal with emotions? So these 5 elements are interconnected. So one by itself doesn't lead to happiness, but the relationship between them does that influence of the construction of happiness. So you can start with one and it will influence the rest of them, but you have to work on all of them. So now that we have already seen a framework for happiness, now I can share with you a definition for it based on this framework, based on these 5 elements of well-being. And the definition that we will be working on is happiness is the experience of the totality of the being, of the whole person, of the whole being. If we talk about these 5 elements of well-being, the idea is that we can develop and integrate them so we can have our whole being flourish. So now it's time to do our first exercise. I'm going to ask you to pause the video and take about 10 minutes to do this exercise. The purpose of this exercise is to raise your levels of awareness so you can generate positive change in your life by reinforcing what is actually working and improving what is not really working. So the exercise can be done in a micro level or a macro level. That means focusing on a day or a week or your life in general. So what are we gonna do is to evaluate ourselves through the different dimensions of the SPIRE pillars. And you're gonna do it in the following way. So in your notebook, you're gonna just pick one piece of sheet and you're gonna divide it into 4 columns. The first one is you're gonna put each one of the elements of the SPIRE. The second one, you're gonna give yourself a score between 1 to 10, 10 the highest score. The third column, you're gonna describe why you gave that score. And the fourth column, you're gonna write down how you can improve or maintain that score that you give yourself. So, for example, if I choose physical well-being pillar, I'm gonna give myself a score of 7, and the description is gonna be because I was not able to go to the gym as much as I wanted this week, and the prescription will be that I will actually go at least 4 times next week, right? So pause the video, take 10 minutes and do the exercise. Now that you have finished, I would like you to reflect on if there's something that it surprised you, if there was a pillar in which you discovered that you were better than in other, or actually that you're really doing good in one of them. So the importance of this exercise is to do it on a frequent basis, and please don't judge. Don't judge, just it's an exercise of awareness. Okay, so now it's time to move to each one of the pillars, and we're gonna start with the emotional well-being. In the last 2 years, we have lived through so many changes as human beings, from a global pandemic to a war in Ukraine, plus all the things that happen in our daily lives, successes, losses, everything that affects us emotionally. So it's really important that we give ourselves permission to be human, to accept all the range of emotions, and that's the healthiest way to deal with the roller coaster of emotions that we deal with. It's very important to clarify that we live in an era where we face something called toxic positivity, and it's when people are expecting us to be always positive, always smiling, always happy. But the best way to actually reject that toxic positivity is to accept those levels of emotions, to embrace them, because the foundation of a happy life is allow us on happiness as the first step to experience happiness. And for that, we have to learn how to practice active acceptance and not reject painful emotions. When we reject them, they're more likely to control us. Think of people who refuse how to be angry. Obviously, there's gonna be a point where basically they're gonna lose control and they're gonna basically yell at someone, or actually they can get sick. Or the other way around, people who actually accept their fears and they become more courageous because they accept them, right? So the important thing here is to accept those emotions and choose which action to take. There are 3 ways to deal with painful emotions. That's crying, talking to a therapist or friends, or actually writing, right? So one of the best ways of writing is actually through a gratitude journal. The benefits are not limited to the minutes where you're writing. It's like an upward spiral, right? So those benefits are you're gonna become happier because you're appreciating your day-to-day life. You can become more optimistic, so it's easier to reach your goals. You can become more generous, kinder to people. You can become physically healthier. You can become more aware of your surroundings and just be present, right? So I encourage you to do this because it can really change your life. Another example of expressing gratitude is by writing and reading a letter to someone that you really care about. So I want you to think about 3 people that you would like to say thank you. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for something that you did for me. Thank you because I love you. Whatever you think. Research shows that in a long-lasting impact, the person who writes the letter and the person who receives it in the relationship. That's the benefit that you have when you actually express gratitude by writing it. Now, you exercise your emotional muscles and you can become just basically happier. So make a list of 3 people that you would like to say thank you, and if possible, read the letter face to face to that person. You will be surprised how good it feels. Now, in terms of research for journaling, I would like to share with you 2 examples. The first one was done with a group of people who were asked to write in a diary for 20 minutes about a difficult situation for 4 days in a row. It could be the same situation or a different one. The results were that their anxiety levels increased at the beginning because they were remembering different difficult moments, but then they actually reduced and were down almost for a year. The second study asked them to write down their best experiences for 15 minutes during 3 days in a row. And what happened is actually their immune system got stronger. So even keeping a journal for 2 minutes helps us during fragile times, and it could be really, really helpful. So I encourage you to start our gratitude journal, to recognize all the good things that happen in your life in a way, to talk, to write, instead of just overthinking so many things that we go through on a daily basis. This is one of the best exercises to accept and process our emotions, because it allows us to actually accept the reality that we're living. It gives us the opportunity to find a purpose also to the situation that we're living, even if it's difficult. Every situation in life has an opportunity to learn something new. So I encourage you to allow yourself to give permission to be human. So now we move to the physical well-being. And COVID aside, stress is a real pandemic of the 21st century. So we see it everywhere, and we have to find a way to calm down. I don't know how do you manage stress, but we have to find a way to actually do it. Because stress is not a problem, it can actually be good for us. For example, when you go to the gym and you stress your muscles, you are actually becoming stronger, right? But what happens if you don't rest, right? You will get injured, right? So stress is not the problem, it's the lack of recovery, the problem. In the past, the stress was basically running away from a lion, right? Now it's the sales report, it's COVID, it's the war, the combination of so many different things. So we have to find a way to recover. And for that, we have different levels of recovery. The micro level is when we take a short break, some minutes to grab a coffee, a short walk, but it has to be a real break, right? Not grabbing your phone while you're reading your emails. So there was a doctor who was actually trying to help traders to manage that stress that we're dealing with. So they asked them to actually take a break for 30 seconds and take just 2 to 3 breaths. Let's do it. What happened is, for those traders who did it consistently, they actually were able to reduce the levels of stress. They were more productive, they increased the levels of well-being, but they were only the ones who were doing it in a consistent way. So I really encourage you to take this rest on a micro level. Then we have the middle level, that is when we actually rest and sleep. It's really, really important, and there's a lot of science behind sleeping. Unfortunately, we don't have time, right? But it's really important that you do it, because it can make a huge difference. And I will say that besides nutrition is one of the things that we really need to take care on the physical well-being pillar. And the last level is the macro level. That's when we take a real break, like holidays, for a long term, or even for the weekend. But there's a lot of people who actually have the fear of missing out. And they start thinking, oh, I shouldn't rest, I should go to this party, I should go to this event, I should go. And they just don't take the time to rest, right? What's gonna happen? They're gonna burn out, especially also with people that are workaholics and they work a lot, right? So what happens to them is that, actually, imagine the analogy of actually Formula One. What it's gonna happen is, imagine a pilot that doesn't make a pit stop. What's gonna happen? There's gonna a point where he's gonna run out of gas, or the tire is gonna basically explode, right? So that's actually the same meaning of burnout of our body. It's actually, there's gonna be a point where it's not gonna be working, we're gonna get sick. So it's really important that we take this rest in a micro, medium, or macro level, so we can give our bodies time to reset and to re-energize. Physical exercise is one of the first things that we stop doing when we're stressed. This was a study done for students where they say that 94% of them were overwhelmed with stress and because of the amount of workload. And they were asked, when are you the least likely to exercise? And they answer during exams, because we're very stressed and busy, right? During these times actually is when we need to exercise the most, because what happens in our body when we exercise, we release endorphins, we release serotonin, many happy hormones that help us to actually activate and feel better. So the recommendation here is that please don't stop exercising, and especially when you are stressed. And now I'm going to share with you, this is a study done by Dan Buettner. He is a sociologist and anthropologist from the National Geographic. And he was very curious because he found out that there were some areas in the world where people were living longer and healthier. So he was wondering, why or what kind of things they were doing to live this way. At the beginning, his hypothesis was that it was genetics. And he found out that then people who actually were living there and they moved to other places, they were not as healthier or living longer. And so he traveled around these different places in the world. And what he discovered, and the conclusion of his book, was that if we follow the practices that they do, we can actually extend our life up to 10 years. 10 years of quality of life, of preventing illnesses, and what are actually these things that these guys are doing. So he calls them the wonder drug. What they do is actually exercise. These people that are very, very active, they move along. They live in small villages and they are not going to the fanciest gym. Basically, they just keep walking maybe to grab water or to go to pick up food, or so they are very, very active people. They also people that they take time to recover, to sleep, to take short naps. They take care of their nutrition because they eat food that comes directly from the earth, right? Like fruits, vegetables, nuts, meat, things that are not processed, right? Like no things that we find in the supermarket that are full of chemicals. So there's fresh food. It's not that they're following a specific kind of diet, it's just like natural and fresh food. And then relationships. They are people that are very, very connected as a community, that they really take care of each other, and that touching is also part of their culture. It's like they like hugging, they're like, it's just part of an important part of who they are. So remember, if we follow at least 2 of these practices, we can actually increase and improve years of our life and bring quality to our life. So I highly recommend to follow the Wonder Drug.